Hello, YouTube, and welcome to URL. We're back with the Formula E Championship. Here, we'll briefly cover the story of the unfolding championship using the new statistics board. As we can see, we do have a few new people that aren't on the list yet, but they will be added in due course. So, as we can see, Thomas V, aka Mr. Aspect, which is what I will mainly refer to him to as this live stream continues, is currently leading the way with 69 points after claiming all pole positions so far this season and winning both races. So, yeah, he does have that. He's also had every fastest lap this season. Gaggles managing to dethrone him in Scotland, though, last weekend out. And I've heard this weekend for the Monaco E-Prix, which is where we are today, Gaggles is in a good position. We've also got a few new wildcard drivers with us who we haven't properly judged, including Mr. Quinn, who was here yesterday in our Formula 1 events of '07, and Mr. Jensen, as well as one or two other new people like Pedro and, of course, Bartek making his return back to the series after a few weekends off. And we tab back, and we're still in practice, which means I possibly need to rejoin because I think the server's wrong, which it is. So we'll have a temporary pause while the new server is back up. Anyway, at the moment, Joe Smart, Mr. Dotty, is sitting out the weekend due to the fact he has wheel issues. So he will not be partaking in this weekend's event. As I mentioned, Bartek's back, the man who is currently sitting P8 in the standings. Do bear with us. This will mean the session will not have its mandatory 2-minute wait time for the drivers. Do apologise for all the little breaks I'm messaging in the server to try and get this issue sorted. As well as this, we had a few drivers making their debut last weekend who will not be showing up due to either them not saying they will or other things that they've not told us. Expect this graph to change by next weekend because we could have a new championship leader. Could have. Things can go differently. All the drivers can now rejoin the game in time for qualifying. We will still have our 2-minute wait because unfortunately that timer was not changed in time, so we will still have just a 2-minute session for everyone to a 2-minute wait while everyone joins the server, as well as a 1-minute silence after a series of fatal accidents that occurred in person over the last weekend of racing. So we'll just wait for the final driver to enter the session, who I don't believe is actually here yet. So while that happens, we will wait for them to join. I think it's Mech, who we're waiting on here, who did show up to the Formula 1 event yesterday. So we're just waiting for him, who is here now. So when the race... Who's going out? Don't go out on track. No one go out on track. Everyone back to the pits, please. When the minute starts, we will have the minute silence, as indicated by the top left of the screen. And this is for the 3 fatalities that happened over 3 different racing events on Saturday, the 24th of May, which unfortunately was my birthday this year. Pretty sad times. Anyway. That brings us to the end of our 1 minute silence to commemorate the 3 who lost their lives over different racing events. Anyway, that somber pause will not overshadow our events. Here we've got a thrilling, really hour of racing here, more like an hour 45 of racing in this event. Of course, all the drivers will need to wait a few more minutes due to the fact the service session was not shortened. So everyone can drive out to the exit of the pit lane, but they cannot exit the pit lane. One thing I do request is you all stay in a nice orderly fashion if you do choose to drive to the end of the pits. Here we hear some drivers coming out the pit lane already to line up. Not to go out on track yet, so they'll wait by the light here. As we watch Quinn just wait there, everyone should be sitting behind him. In a nice orderly queue. When that timer at the top goes from 31 to 30:00, that's when Quinn can officially start going out on track. The list of drivers joining him will continue higher. Here we see Mr. Asbeck sitting in the pit lane. Mr. Bruker, Jensen Bruker, one of the new drivers into the championship, known as Captain Slow by his mates, hence his quoted nickname, as we see someone doing a massive burnout there in the pit. Unsure as to who that is. We'll see different shots. Here, this one has a ton of different cameras, which is making me have a lovely time. Whoever's doing that, I think it's Zerk, I would not recommend doing that because that can mess up your tires before the session has even started. So, there are 38 laps of Monaco here. I believe it's 38. I'm sure I'll be corrected sometime very, very quickly before this session starts by someone. But really, the drivers should know that there isn't impeding. It's 36 laps, I've been told by the host of the session. 30 seconds before the green flag goes out. Everyone, I'm pretty sure here, is queued at the end of the pit lane. Here comes Gaggles to join the back of the queue. There is Aspect. I think he's just going to try to do a practice start there, which is why they're lining up. A bit out of the order. Please do not overtake in the pit lane unless you're doing a practice start. So that will be Aspect and Gaggles. Makembe joining the back of the queue. And we go green now. So Quinn darts out the pit lane, slides out the pit lane there. So he will be the man to come out first to set a hot lap of the Monaco circuit. Yes, I am aware the graph says F1. We're not F1, but I can't really change it that easily. So unfortunately, we're stuck with it. So it is what it is. And we've already got side-by-side action there at the further end of the field. 3 wide there. Pedro just keeping out the way. Really should be keeping out the way of everyone here today, but it is what it is. Things can happen, things don't happen. The whole field just filtering their way through the circuit for the first time. Everyone's still pretty compact. If I were one of them, I would try and sit in clean air for a moment as we see Bartek just get tapped on the rear. If I were him, I'd pull away and maybe generate a gap behind. He's starting to slow down. I think he is just trying to gain a gap. Or not. As we see Zerk and Johnson have a bit of a slide on the rear. Yeah, if I were a few of these guys, I'd be trying at least to generate a gap. And I wouldn't be fighting like they are here as we see a big moment there from Gagley. Mr. Gaggles, as everyone calls him, having a moment there through the chicane. That has given him a bit of a gap. I will commend him for that, but those around him won't be impressed. But anyway, the man with the cleanest air of everybody, Mr. Quinn, up at the front. Everyone really in a little bit of a snooker queue. As we see a backwards car, it is Pedro, a driver making his debut this weekend. He's going to need to whip that round. Quinn goes provisionally fastest. He would do. He's the first man out on the track. As we see FaZe going up there, Zerk as well. Johnson up there as well. Wiro, his nickname, Mr. Johnson. Jensen as well. We got Mr. Jensen and a Johnson surname and a first name. Very confusing for me up in the booth. But anyway, hope everyone should have crossed the line by now. I think Pedro has teleported back to the pit lane. Either that or Gaggles is in the pit lane. It is someone in the pit lane. I don't know who that may be, but there is someone in the pit lane. I believe that's... I don't know who that would be in the pits. Anyway, Quinn on a push lap here. Cleanest air of everyone on the circuit so far. So he will be, realistically, the man to set the fastest time so far. It was Aspect sitting in the pit lane for a second there, so hopefully we'll get to see one of his amazing hot laps. And as well, we've got a few new drivers who really appear that they can shake up the top of the standings. As we know, this is the midpoint in the championship. This is round 4 of 7. Meaning we've got 3 more rounds to go, including a special round at Bathurst. So do stay tuned for that. As he comes to the line, Quinn, provisional pole of a 1:29. That is a very decent lap time from him. Here come the 2 teammates. Zerk goes fastest with a 28. Here comes Johnson across the line, improves ahead of FaZe. Here we've got Bartek, and I believe Gaggles just behind him. Or was that someone else? It was Gaggles, as we see Bartek spinning into turn 1 there. Book, or whatever his name is, Jensen. There's the one, crosses the line. Here's going to be Mech across the line. He's got a really slow banker lap. I believe we saw him stopped for a second there. And again, if you're not on a hot lap, please don't go that slow. Treat it like a push lap. Keep the heat in your tyres, please. But the man in 8th is the championship leader. As FaZe has disconnected, he should be joining back. His lap will be reinstated when he gets back, so... Anyway, 5 minutes almost completed so far of the session, as we have a brief yellow for the slowest car on track through the chicane. Aspect, the man here we see, really needs to show a good bit of pace here in the race itself. We know his qualifying pace is unmatched this season so far, but his race pace was something really to be left desired on. I mean, he had a few moments in the race. I heard that he spun into the pit lane, which caused him to have an early pit stop in last weekend's race. Of course, a race with a really broken pit lane itself. So, who knows? Through the chicane he goes. This isn't an all-out push lap. We have seen all-out push laps before. As Mech goes even faster. We're already into the 27s. Could we see at the very end of this session a possible 25? Like a 25.9 maybe? That could be on the cards, especially with a lap like that from Mech. That is a really astounding push lap from him. Anyway, we're going to see what this man can do. That didn't look like an all-out push lap from Aspect. Maybe he was saving something. Maybe he's going to use a push to pass here. Up the hill. But look at it, definitely going faster. Because for me, this feels a lot faster than the previous push lap he did. We'll see, though. Can that gap drop down? He's just under 0.5 of a second away from that fastest time, which means he's in the 128s, which is really not where I expected this man to be, especially given the fact he's just ahead of Quinn, who's a second behind him. We've got a few other newer drivers yet to solidify their place in this league. Gaggles has disconnected. He will be joining back. Do not count him away. But here's Aspect through the Nouvelle chicane. Bit of a slide on the rear. You don't want to do that too many times. That's a few tenths lost easily through there for him. As he's hit the wall, through to back. I'd still continue the lap because he's got decent momentum at the moment to hopefully improve that time. As Wiro goes to 4th just ahead of Quinn. I was busy focusing on that aspects lap there. But speaking of Quinn, here he goes through the Nouvelle chicane, just keeping away from the barriers. A lot less sponsors here. We don't really need that many because we don't really like real life sponsors. So, or at least for this season, we don't. So, here he goes, flying literally through the swimming pool chicane. Who knows what he can try and set. We are 22 minutes to go of this Monaco E-Prix qualifying. We could do what they do in real life, but that would take way too long to try and sort out in this sort of session. Anyway, here comes Quinn through turn 1. Really wide against the wall there. Not quite sure what strategy he's trying to pull. But it's not exactly the cleanest. As we see there, Pedro setting a 1:36. Bartek a second faster than Pedro so far. So who knows what could happen here in this E-Prix as we see James locking up the front right, going into there, and he locks up again, going through the hairpin. Did improve that lap with Quinn, but I feel he can improve even faster. The top 5 separated by a fraction of a second. A fraction over a second. Well, a number is what they're separated by, and that number is close to a second. Is what I'm trying to reiterate to you all. In fact, the top 6 are still pretty close. I think there's 1 or 2 people we're expecting to see laps from. As Thomas, Mr. Asbeck, goes fastest. That gap massively different to what it was a few seconds ago. Here's Jensen, a man who was literally brought in 20 minutes ago. Or 30 minutes ago now. To the league to have a bit of fun here. So we may not see a championship charge from him just yet, but I feel next Formula E season he'll definitely be on the reins to something good, I feel, because I've seen his pace in other places and he's pretty quick. So through he goes, through the chicane, through the swimming pool too. A bit of airtime like Quinn. What can this lap do? This should definitely put him at the order no matter what, because from what I've seen of the lap so far, he is blitzing it through the final 2 sectors here. Across the line he goes. Stagnant camera shows him going through. It was an improvement. Maybe he cut. Through turn 1 he goes. Bit of a brush on the wall and he's spun. So perhaps he needs to get used to the cars a bit before he does his well, one and true, amazing push lap. And really, for me, the only surprise here is Gaggles being at the back by 45 seconds. That's over a 2-minute lap time. It's close to a 3-minute lap time, if anything. So, really a surprise from the commentary booth on behalf of Gaggles here. Apparently, we could get things happening this race. We could get safety cars, that's a definite, especially with the grid. Gagli improves to a P7, still not what I've seen him do in practice. He was predicted to be faster than Quinn in the practice sessions that were done unofficially. We don't do official practice sessions here. We just host a lobby and then let them drive. So in those tests, Gaggles said that he was on average slightly faster than Quinn. Or maybe it is the qualifying where the championship is really defined, because so far the 2 drivers to get 100% podiums is Gaggles and Asbeck. One of them is going to likely be starting on pole position. And the other one could be starting P7, which could be something. As Mech sets a 36.9. We've completely missed that there, but he's setting the timing sheets ablaze here at Monaco. Where was this pace last weekend from him? That is an absolutely stonking lap time, and he sets it off by drifting through to Casino. Hitting the wall, resetting to pits. I don't blame him. Pedro improves ahead of Bartek there. Rear end of the field getting pretty dicey as we see Pedro hit the wall. I believe that's Gaggles locking up into turn 1. No, it wasn't. It was Bartek. So the 2 likely crashes on the grid pretty close to each other. Again, here's Jensen. I think he's just trying to get used to the cards. Gagli improves again. P6. That's really, still really not where I was expecting him to be. I was expecting him to be around third, fourth, fifth at a push. So perhaps it's all come bad for him in this session. As we watch Jensen just brush the wall there. So he does the safe thing. Teleports back to the pit lane. That was scrapped anyway. Here is Asbeck. Currently a few tenths down, a few hundredths even down on pole. So we'll see what he'll be able to ring out in the remaining 17 minutes of the session. If he's able to ring anything out, because it could be that he's already hit his theoretical best, but we could see an all-round improvement as he slides through the corner there. Through the Lowe's hairpin and into Portier he goes. Frighteningly close to those barriers. And he loses the rear and spins. Teleports back to the pit lane. The safe thing to do. So the current fastest, in quotes, fastest man in the league, suffering with a rare mistake in the qualifying session. As we watch here, Wiro down towards Tabat even. Pretty fast section of track, not flat, but pretty fast in these cars. Through the chicane they go. He's taking a really wide line through the Raskas. I think he's trying to start that, but he abandons the pit lane and hits the wall on the way in. We just missed a brief spin there from Jensen, who's going to, I believe, start a push lap here. So we'll watch this tentatively here, this push lap for the Brit here in Monaco. Not really a track you want to start the championship in, it being the first race for four people here, so 4 people starting their championship campaign halfway through the season here in the Principality of Monte Carlo. We watch Jensen sliding through the chicane, just manages to keep it out of the walls. This won't be a fastest lap, but I feel there may be an improvement here still. As we get towards 15 minutes to go, and Mech has improved again. The gap now 0.2 as Gagli improves also up to 5th for him. Slightly closer to where I expected him to be. He's just under 2 seconds from the pole sitter, which could be a 3 for 3. 3 different pole sitters. And a man who I thought would be here this weekend, Chicken, isn't. So his championship hopes are slowly dwindling. Anyway, we see it here. Jensen across the line to conclude his hot lap. He goes 3rd! I knew he could pull something out the bag, and it's 3rd fastest for the Brit in the Principality. Special laps like that really do count in a qualifying that could be tight at the very end. And could this be a bit of a, threat as we continue on the championship for the race, for the current championship leader? It could be so. As we see Zerk currently 4th. I will reiterate this. Liveries do mean nothing in this championship. So the fact that someone has one on and they share one with another person doesn't mean a thing. So just for the first season, while we figure out a few things, liveries mean nothing, which is why it may look like someone has gone through 4 teams a season, which is not the case. It's not the 80s, or this. I should say the 60s, really, shouldn't I? It's not the 60s. 2 people improve their lap. Bartek improves ahead of Pedro. Not by much. As he hits the wall. Barely anything in that gap, really. Just under a tenth between those two. Anyway, the question is Mech going to improve? We see him with a few little jolts, a few little slides. He could be in contention here for a very decent opening corner. Although those at the back, or at the very back, are set up to have the best starts, being the carnage will happen ahead of them. They do have enough time to just react to it. But who knows what we could see out of turn one, of course. We do have a pseudo safety car in effect, which is basically a virtual safety car. But the leader slows down to gear 2 as Wiro improves to P5. But the leader would slow down to gear 2 and everyone would follow them. And it would go in once the field is packed up enough and at a safe place on the track to do so. Ergo, into turn 1 would be one of them, you know, the straight with to back after the swimming pool. Not after the swimming pool, after the Nouvelle chicane. One could technically be up the hill here. You know, the next one would be after turn 4 Casino, and we wouldn't do it through the tunnel due to the risk that there's a giant left-hander there. We could do it into the Nouvelle chicane, but then everyone would have to try and negate through the tunnel, which, being a very fast right-hand fling, could bring a few risks. So it will be up to the discretion of the leader when to go or when to not go. Of course, they know not to do it mid-corner or mid-fast section, like the swimming pool chicane, because that could spell disaster. But it really is up to the race leader and whoever finds their self at the front of the field. We're currently watching Mech. Through the tunnel he goes. Frighteningly close to the wall on exit there. I've been to Monaco myself, and I was never getting that close to the walls in the taxi I took through there. Very expensive taxi, mind you, but even so, I was never getting a taxi that close to the barriers. Wiro again improving. He's just trying to bring that gap down, as well as Aspect improving that gap 1/10 of a second, we'll call it, as Mech hits the wall in the final corner, or second to last corner, almost losing the rear. Does slightly lose the rear as he comes across the line to conclude his hot lap. Not a hot lap to write home about, as we enter the final 10 minutes of the qualifying. Of course, the man in third using this as a bit of a practice session as well. Anyway, as we just wait to see who can do anything, Gagli is going to come across the line down in 7th provisionally for now. Although this could be the closest top 7 we've ever had, as Bartek should move out the way for Gagli, which I think he's trying to do without losing too much time. And Gaggles almost spins. He just saves it. I think he kissed the barrier. Still pushing on though, side by side with Bartek. I think just giving him a not so nice gesture through the cockpit, and I think just going to force him off the track there in slight annoyance for that maneuver that he just pulled there. Gaggles thinking it cost him a push lap, therefore not so happy. We just take a second to watch as Gaggles, Mr. Semi consistency, makes his way through the tunnel. One of the 2 people so far this season to score 100% podiums, doing a P3 in round 1, P2 in round 2, and winning the last race out. Can he make it another back-to-back winner? Aspect won the first 2. Could it be Gagli winning the first 2? Or could it be someone else completely different? Who knows? We could see a Bartek up in the top 5 after mayhem ensues in the race. Gaggle was trying to improve his lap there, just hits the wall, so I think his lap is technically over before it started. Captain Slow just follows behind him. Not really much to comment about at the moment. Kurtz inside the pit lane though, gets let through by Gagli. I think that's a nice gesture. Zerk goes P3. So the top 4 separated by just under a second now. Those are some nice healthy gaps I do like to see. The top 7 still separated by a very small gap. Just over 2 seconds. It is currently the closest qualifying gap we've seen. A bit of a slide on the rear for Zerk there. Pedro just ahead of him. Maybe we'll see those 2 drivers do stuff as Mech goes even faster. As we just see Zerk getting tapped there by Pedro, who's also found the barrier. Luckily, there's no one on a hot lap behind him, so he will get nicely out the way. Bartek, though, crashes at the swimming pool, scaring FaZe there. FaZe still close to the top group. I'd assume he would be... Well, I think he assumed that he'd be slightly closer. But the top 3 separated by that margin is still something ridiculously close as we watch Bartek just run into the barriers. Who knows what this race could bring? It could be something brilliant. It could be something devious. Pedro apparently on a push lap as he was hit by Zerk. So I'm pretty sure some evil words will be given between those 2 soon. Anyway, we see Bartek just trying to go out to get a faster lap than he has. We see Mech still a 26.3. That really is a very nice lap time. We see him colliding with the wall through the entrance to the tunnel. We enter 5 minutes left of the session. Pedro being told, "What are you doing?" by Aspect himself. So perhaps reprimands may need to start slowly being brought in. As we're officially 5 minutes to go of the session. 5 minutes left for a possible new pole sitter. Definitely a unique top 3. And maybe an answer for Gaggles being so far behind. Perhaps he'll give us a comment between the 2 sessions. Again, I'm keeping quiet just so we can get a bit of a sound of how they, well, sound across the track here. Nothing really much to comment about. I'm just trying to save my voice for a bit just before the end of the session. Aspect, though, is really ringing it out this lap. As Gagli goes to P5. That could be crucial as we enter just under 4 minutes to go. Aspect through the final corner, sliding here this lap way and every way. Is it going to be an improvement for him? No. He is going to try push this lap, though. Quinn, currently 7th, does improve his lap time. He is going to be 2.25 back at the moment. But Aspect up the hill, really ringing it out. Everything he's got here, I think, is going into this push lap. If he save pushed to pass, I think now he'd want to try use it, as I believe someone has found their way out the borders of the track. And I think that was James Quinn, who found out of bounds. So expect him to rejoin pretty promptly, or else he's going to be starting at the back of the grid. Unless he joins back sharpish. But Asbeck, through the tunnel he goes, pushing like crazy. I can see this lap around. Can he claim back those 3/10 he needs to claim the first Monaco pole position for Formula E? Who is it going to be at the moment? It's looking the way of Mech. And he goes even faster. Mech improves by a few thousandths of a second. But it's going to be the Raskas for Asbeck. He's got Anthony Nosh and he's backed off. He may have made a huge mistake there. I believe I may have missed it as I was commenting on a slightly faster time. But we continue on. 2 minutes, remain of the session. Mech has pitted. I would not blame him if he's going to sit there till the end. He's not. There is someone ahead. It's P10. It's Pedro. He was stopped there so he could let the faster car through. Officially 2 minutes to go. Mech is going to have one last push lap here. As we see Asbeck with a huge slide. This isn't going to be the lap that could put him on pole. This really isn't the lap that could put him on pole. That huge slide has definitely cost him the time he needs to gain. Really, that is not what you want to see for a driver pushing this rigorously. But the question is, will you be able to do the lap in time? He's slowed down. Pedro doing a lap. If I were Pedro, I'd recommend staying behind Asbeck for the life of him. He doesn't want to mess the possible lap of laps. It's like Senna back in the 80s trying to watch this man set the fastest lap, because when he does it, it can be done right and it could slip under the radar for someone who can set the faster time. So Asbeck will cross the line to start the final push lap of the session. Bartek takes him out. That's not on for him. What was that? That really wasn't on for Bartek. Asbeck will start a highest of second because of this. That's really not on for Bartek. I expect to see a penalty towards him in the race, if not afterwards for the next race we do. But it means Mech is on track to take a maiden pole in the series. Someone is coming across the line. I'm just trying to work out who that is. It's Zerk who goes second. He overtakes Asbeck. He runs into the runoff. He's going to start on the front row. Can Gagley do anything? The session is over. What can he do? We've got Quinn to the line. Can he improve? No. Quinn is done for the session. What can Gagley do? Can he make his way up the order? He's backed off. He's going to the pits. He cannot improve. What can Wiro do? He was a podium sitter in his first race. He's found the wall in his push lap. Bartek taking out Asbeck has denied him of a front row start here. So Asbeck is off the front row, I believe, for the first time this season. But the man we want to watch is Mech. He slides slightly through to back. He's got the final sector to go. If I were Pedro, I would get to the pits and keep out the way. He's into the wall. He's not going to improve. The session is over. Mech on pole for the debut Monaco Grand Prix in the calendar. He takes a celebratory donut in the final corner just to solidify this. What a pole. We do have one man, I believe, just on a hot lap, and it's FaZe. If it is a hot lap, we'll see if he's able to improve or not. He could bail out to the pit lane, which he should have done there with that huge snap, because you're not going to gain any time from that. Across the line he goes. He doesn't improve. We see it here. The top four, separated by different nationalities. Jensen is English. I have spoken to the man. He is definitely a British driver. Gaggles saying that was a PB. Quinn saying he bottled. So perhaps a few drivers not that happy with their lap times, but it's all going to come to a head in about a minute and a half for the debut Monaco Grand Prix. The VSC speeds, we need to remind everyone, is 80 Ks. So the race leader will go 80 Ks and everyone behind him will follow along. But it would be second gear. 80 Ks normally is second gear in most normal road cars of 2020 period. We will provisionally have a weird yellow flag area just as the race starts. If I'm quick enough, we should be able to get back into the pit lane. And we will, on the start, have a really long timing tower so I can spectate people. That's about how the race will start. But we should really see what Assetto can do. We just wait. We've got 20 seconds before the lights go out here in Monaco. Or I should say, really, before they go on in 10 seconds. Because we don't actually know how long we will be before we start. 36 laps ahead of the drivers. The lights are on. 3, 4, 5, 6 lights on in Monaco. And we are going the Principality. We quickly get back to the pit lane. We spectate Mech into turn 1. We've got the 10 drivers going through cleanly so far. Are they clean at the back? Bartek suffering a spin, but they're all clean so far. Assetto does make his way up ahead of Zerk. He's tapped the wall. FaZe even, falling right to the back on the start there. What will happen as we continue on the opening lap of racing? It is close all throughout the field, and there's a spin from Pedro. He will get overtaken. He's going to get overtaken again. More moments through the field, but we're relatively clean through the opening lap. Pedro through the hairpin into the wall, and there's a spin from Wiro. He's made contact with Bartek. He really needs to get that back around, and Mech is away by a second. He's got a second lead on the grid so far, but we've seen gaps disappear out of nowhere in these sessions before. In the previous races, we have seen it where drivers do lose gaps like it's nothing. Wiro demoted to the back after an incident that we just missed. But the real fight is going to be at the front here. Gaggles up to P4. Quinn versus... Quinn versus Jensen. 2 rookies in this league fighting it out on track for a top 5 place early on in the event. No one knows what the strategies are. They could be conserving, they could not be. The gap roughly 2 seconds now between the top split. We watch Assetto, the man leading the championship. The 3 points go to Mech. Where will that put him? I hear you ask. We will get those sorts of updates midway through this event. So we may not have the info now, but we will definitely have them at the midpoint of this race. And the lower pack is really close here. Bartek and Pedro just making contact as Pedro spins. 360 degrees fully around. Makembe may not have finished last weekend out. He may not have even shown up last weekend out, this being his first race. For him, I must be thinking of the F1 event where he did so well last time. But those 3 points for another debuting driver are really crucial. We watch the fights further back. We've got these 3 drivers really close. The other groups not as close as these guys, surprisingly. If I were Wiro, I'd really be hoping for a safety car as Bartek's had a spin through the Nouvelle chicane. But we watch Quinn, Jensen and FaZe, the 3 all dueling for a P5 finish. Jensen, of course, with a stellar lap time earlier on in the qualifier. Just slightly being thrown awry in the later part of the session, in the early part of this race. The gap almost 3 seconds for the lead, I believe, was 3 seconds for a few real seconds there, as it's almost back up to 3 and is back up to 3 now, as Quinn makes a few mistakes and Jensen makes a few mistakes. FaZe watching on behind. These guys get very, very close to each other when they want to. Who knows what type of moves we could see pull off in this race, because we saw a brilliant move in the F1s yesterday from Mr. Quinn, who's currently sat P5 up to Casino Square, up into Massenet. He managed to get a round the outside, I believe it was, or down the inside move. Round there. We'll stay with these guys who are frighteningly close together. Oh, and there's a moment there as Bartek has disconnected. He should be getting back. FaZe with a huge moment there. FaZe gives back the places. But we do see here Jensen pushing towards the rear diffuser of Quinn. What could these guys do? They're slowly but surely losing time to each other. But will that be enough? Not sure as to Bartek's issues, but we do see it here. A bit of contact is what we do see. And more contact as phases into the wall. As... Oh no! Mech's made a mistake. He's lost 2. While the previous fight was going on and we see contact, Mech has made contact with the Armco barriers lining the circuit here. We see Aspect now leaving. Leading, not leaving, leading. The fight for the podium still close as we see FaZe in the wall. Oh no, we missed an incident there. Quinn and Jensen coming together. Jensen getting airborne there. We do see through the Rascat slower, him just trying to gain a few more tenths on Quinn ahead of him. The top 3 are really close. So Bartek will go down as a non-scorer after retiring on lap 4 with an incident with Pedro, which we do not see at the moment. But Bartek is out. Which I think is a bit of a saving grace for some on track, as Zerk, I think, has had a moment or has come a cropper to an overtake from Mekembe. So, could we see a possible fight at the front from those two? Here comes Gagli, and then the 2 ever so close drivers behind. These guys need to keep it as clean as they can. To try and see what they can achieve in their debut races. Of course, both of them coming in for the first time. But we'll see. There's still plenty of laps to go. Really, anything can happen. Anything will happen in this event. So we'll sit, wait, and see what happens as Quinn, who we're watching, makes a huge mistake there. Another huge mistake and really chewing up those rears. So not quite sure as to his strategy for this one, but you see Gagli ahead of this little duo as Pedro has come into the pit lane. From what the timing tower has told me, he may have disconnected. If he has, and that is a huge shame, as Quinn has slowed down significantly. Pedro also retiring from the race, so the 2 really prominent drivers with issues this event, both out so far. Here we see, though, Quinn at risk. Really here from Jensen. Nothing really to say. He's just getting close as he has to back out through the chicane and loses a few. Anyway, we see Jensen trying a move there. It doesn't really pay off for him. But he is definitely closer than last time. These two just getting closer and closer to each other every lap. Nothing between the two. We'll be able to see if this comes to a devastating head in a bit, as we see James with a huge slide there out the corner. Really don't want to be replicating that every lap because that can be devastating. But he is closer this time, is Jensen. He's much closer. He could be landing an attack here through the swimming pool. Maybe not. He was just too far back, really, to set up a move. Now Quinn is on the back of Gaggles. I think Gaggles may have had a bit of a mistake there through part of the track. So we'll see what can happen. They're all really close now. These three are separated by 0.2. As a new fastest lap is set by FaZe there. So it's brilliant for them. Quinn trying around the outside of Gaggles. Can he get it done into the hairpin? He has the inside line for the hairpin. And there's contact. Gaggles hits the wall. They're 3 wide on the exit there of the Lowe's hairpin. Gaggles manages to stay ahead. And he's bumped. Quinn knocks Gaggles round. Gaggles luckily kicks it round to get it in gear to go again. But I think that's not really on. But we're going to see a possible move. And Jensen takes the escape road one, trying to overtake Quinn. That move we have seen trying to be done before in the practices, in the qualifying even. And nothing much is done from it, but the top two now. Well, Mech is closing in on Aspect here. We'll be able to see if anything comes from this. Gaggles a bit further behind due to that contact. But as we can see now, Mech really closing in on the rear diffuser here of Aspect as he taps the back of him. Well, I knew they were going to be close, but didn't realize they'd be this close. Well, we'll see what they can pull off later in this race. I think Mech just slows down a bit to try and catch. No, weird how this works, but you need to sometimes slow down a bit, get clean air, and then go. But we do see a gap slowly closing. Gap actually quite fastly closing between these two here, so will we possibly see another mirror image incident like last lap? So we enter lap 10 of 36. Halfway through will be... Oh, an Aspect slows. Not quite sure what that's about there, but Aspect slowed right down and has lost 1.5 seconds. Whether if he's hit the wall or not is a different question, but I don't know what happened there, and that gap's now 2 seconds between the leaders, so Aspect, no idea why he's done that, perhaps to give a bit of threat to the car ahead. But who knows, it could be just to pay back that little bit of contact, so Aspect, known as a driver renowned for his overall average pace being that quick, that in other leagues he's been reported for possible exploits because he's this humanly fast compared to the other drivers. Although those are really simpler cars to drive. So but we'll see if this gap will shrink, or if any gaps really in the field will shrink, because by the look of them, none are really narrowing down. Mech currently in a really nice position to win this race, although it is very early days, so who knows what can happen. Nothing really much to comment about now. The race has really died down a bit compared to what it was on the opening few laps. Wiro has pitted, we see there. Wiro coming into the pit lane. Not quite sure the reason. It could be for a scheduled stop, but he does come back out, so I think that was a pit stop for him. So we see a bit of locking up there from Aspect in the rear of the shot there. I think it was his rear tyres that he was locking as well, so not exactly the best thing he would have hoped for there. Don't forget the pit boost, essentially a thing here, as well as tyre degs, as Quinn comes into the pit lane for a stop. Well, we ride on board with the driver here. We follow on board with Quinn. Ignore the fact it says wrong way. It isn't the wrong way, I assure you. He's most definitely travelling the right way around this Monaco circuit. And he's come out on very cold tyres there. About 6-7 seconds behind FaZe, who's yet to pit. But we do see Aspect here unable to really gain on the people, or on the driver ahead of him. So we'll see if the pit cycles really do affect that much. Because the man in fourth, as Aspect locks up big time there. What has happened to Aspect? He's rolling down the runoff. He's got an issue. He's stopped at turn 1. Yellow's out down there. He's been overtaken for second. He's going to be overtaken for third here. And I think if that happens, we will get a safety car. And we do. We have a safety car. So the leader will need to slow down to 80 Ks. Or the pit limiter, please. As he spins himself So the race leader saved by the safety car. He will need to slow right down. Aspect is back going, but the safety car is out. In the tunnel currently, everyone needs to slow down to 80 Ks. But we have a safety car after Aspect has a huge moment. Unsure as to what's caused that, but he's back in the race. But we are under a safety car. Everyone adhering to that nicely, which is good to see. But we'll get a safety car. Jensen, you can push to catch up. Jensen, push to catch up. Thank you. We do know it is your first race and you've not attended any others, but go full speed till you catch the group, which we are looking at here. We see people trying to cut the chicane. Really, I think that's the best situation to do here. Everyone cuts the chicane because Wiro is going to push to the safety car as he's the man furthest away. So we'll probably get people coming into the pit lane here for a pit stop under this safety car, which we do. Zerk pulls into the pit lane. Gaggles into the pit lane as well as FaZe. So those guys coming in. Aspect as well taking this free pit stop. So Mech and Jensen and Quinn. I think Quinn already pitted though, staying out. We'll see what happens through the pit cycles here as we ride on board with Jensen. Not Jensen, Aspect. He comes out onto the track in P5, so he's jumped. Gaggles in the pit lane. I think Gaggles fueling to the end there, or having a max fuel stop onto a new set of tyres, and we ride on board with FaZe. So when he comes out, he'll be able to rejoin the pack, and we're just waiting now on Johnson, Mr. Wiro, to gain to the group. And when Wiro is back with the group, Wiro can go as fast as he wants and is suggested to cut. We'll see what he can pull, and I think FaZe is having a bit of a timing issue there, as it's not counted him through going through the pit lane. I'm not sure why that is, but he is having a timing issue. So I'm not quite sure as to why that is, as Zerk has overtaken Quinn under the safety car. Gives the place back. I think that was just a bit of a miscommunication there. I'm not sure why FaZe is having a timing issue problem, but he's definitely having one. Because it's saying he's 8th, he's not, he's 7th. Although, despite the fact he is with the safety car, we still suggest you push. Wiro, full push. Wiro, full push. Please. We're trying to get the group back together as fast as possible. Cut the swimming pool as well. There are no corner cuts for that corner, but we will be monitoring. Just go full push. Not sure as to why FaZe is having that issue with the timing tower. As we watch Wiro spin. So we should be able to get back to the group within due course. We stay under the safety car while we watch this guy catch up. As we see Jensen pitting, we ride on board with the driver. He chooses to take a free pit stop. He comes out in P8. Gaggles dropping down. I think the order just had to correct itself there. Not sure as to why FaZe has been shown as 1 lap behind, despite being on the lead lap. I don't know that issue or why it has happened. I just want to quick... FaZe, overtake the car ahead, please. FaZe, overtake the car ahead. I want to test something. I just want to see... Yeah, okay, right. FaZe, you need to unlap, or at least attempt to, because now you're apparently a lap behind. Because we love Monaco like that, so... FaZe needs to unlap. Let FaZe unlap. The faster this happens, then the less likely we are to prolong the safety car anymore. I have no idea how that's happened, but I think it may be something to do with him using the pit lane, so... we may need to call a temporary red just so we can catch up, which would be the race leader slowing right down on the main straight to a crawl. But that would really be the only way I see that happening. As we see him almost roll the car while unlapping there. He's gained a massive amount of time just so he could give back. I have no idea why the pit system is being decidedly buggy, I will admit this. But it is generating problems that are outside of our control, and we do apologise, but there isn't really anything we can do. So the safety car will stay out for one more lap, hopefully. And I say that with my fingers dearly crossed and pray that it will work. As we see Mech pitting under the last lap of the safety car. Probably the last lap of the safety car. Hopefully this doesn't put him a lap down. If it does, then we're going to have to do stuff. But it hasn't. FaZe should be caught up by the end of this safety car lap. This does mean. Which is amazing. So Quinn has inherited the lead after pitting early on. I believe he's pitted. I'm pretty sure he could one-hand type on his phone saying he has or hasn't during this safety car. Which I believe can get going quite quickly. We watch, we continue, and we see a very centered T-cam on FaZe. He's going to catch, I believe, by the Nouvelle chicane, which will mean we can go green from that point. Well, but we can go green when I say he's caught to the pack. And when he's caught to the pack, the leader then chooses, as per his discretion, when to go, like a virtual safety car, if you will. Given the fact you can do it from anywhere. So, yeah. We see it here, though. He has caught to the group. He does back out. So, any time from now, Mr. Quinn, the race leader, can pick where to go. And I believe he's just trying to get back into a position he was in before. So, Quinn, on his own aggression, can go from any point. He has pitted, so he is in the lead. And he's gone. So, he's chosen to leave the field through to back. And they go nose to tail, nose to tail, nose to tail. We have moves trying to be done throughout all the field here. Gaggles trying to get through as we see contact there between Aspec and Zerks. Who knows what could happen between those guys later on in this event. And I believe we've got a spin. It is. Wiro has spun, so the man who was unlapping is round. And we see more contact there of FaZe and Mech. Those two unlapping. FaZe slowing right down. I think he got a corner cut as we see 3 cars there. All for one position. Gaggle, Zerk, and Jensen, the rookie, fighting here. Quinn leading as well, a rookie. Again leading the way here in Monaco. Jensen biding his time to try and overtake the man second in the standings. He said all he wants to do this race is outscore Aspec. If he does that, he'll write home happily, saying that he is in a suitable place to try and fight for this championship now. If he's unable to, I'm not sure what he'll write home, but I don't think it'll be a very nice comment writing home. We see everyone taking the Nouvelle chicane. We're now over half race distance, I do believe, or at half race distance. So, no, this lap upcoming is half race distance, which is brilliant. Take a little power boost here. Do bear with me. I can't yap this whole time without having a power boost midway through. But as we see at the front, Assetto starting to push towards the front. Towards Quinn. These two drivers have never raced each other. I believe in any category ever. These two drivers have never engaged in a form of contact or battle, anything even that I've seen. So, who knows what can unfold in the next 18 laps of racing as they crash. Assetto spins Quinn. Quinn stopped in the hairpin. He's going to fall down. He gets back going again, but he's down in 6th. He's temporarily out of contention. Zerk's been brought in, and so is Gaggles. And Gaggles trying to go side by side through the tunnel. He gets almost fully through. Zerk's defending. I think Gaggles just managing to stay on the track. These two are frighteningly close, and Gaggles gets through. He makes that move work amazingly. Oh, I'm genuinely speechless by that move that Gaggles has pulled off out the tunnel there. As we see Jensen fighting Zerk there as well. And I see smoke in the back. That was Quinn having a huge lockup. Here we see Jensen to the inside, just backs out for turn 1. I think that was the right thing to do. He just stayed out the way. Stayed in the right place, thinking of the right time. The right time maybe here through Casino. Can we see another rookie in contention? But Zerk is pushing towards Gaggles here, so could we get our first double podium where we've had 3 drivers on the podium for us? And again, so far this season, every podium has been unique, if I'm not mistaken. Don't forget, Mech down in 6th started on pole in this event. So we see another lap goes by. Assetto just pushing his lead a bit on Gaggles. Someone who is pushing quite a bit here is Jensen. Try and getting close to the back of cars ahead. So we'll see what happens over the final 16-ish laps of this race. 16 laps. We're now over half race distance, which means we're halfway done with the pre and exactly halfway done now with the season. So we'll see what can happen with the last section of this race remaining. Zerk pushing towards Gaggles. Everyone is getting closer. The whole field's still separated about 10 seconds, I believe that is. So who knows what can unfold in the closing stages. I believe that one pit stop halfway through has suited everyone, as we see Jensen brushing the barrier quite hard there. More of hitting the barrier quite rigorously. So we'll see what he can do. But Zerk is pushing towards Gaggles here. You know it's close when the timing system starts schizo. So who knows what we can do here at this race. Who knows what the drivers even can do at this race. Gaggles under threat currently from Zerk, as Mech has got through on Jensen. I have missed that. I am dearly sorry for that. I zoned out there for a second while I was looking at this fight on track. I completely missed the overtake go on there. But we do see everything continue. The gap staying roughly the same. Gap slowly gaining even, so who knows what could happen. Oh, as Jensen has disconnected. What has happened there? Jensen could be the third retirement of this race. Gonna see if we can try and get a reason for that. If we get one, I will notify you guys watching on at home. It's a wheel problem. It's a wheel issue. Wheel issues have been plaguing this event. Mechanical failure it's down to. He's dulled it down to a mechanical failure, so he is out of contention, unfortunately. His efforts, though, will definitely be shown in this event, because he was really rigorous with how his fights were going. But we'll see who can do what in the remainder of this race. These three so close. Quinn overtaking through the tunnel. Those three close. And the next group close. And they're rubbing tyres there, those guys. They need to be careful. Quinn forced to cut the chicane. And so the driver behind him follows. I'm pretty sure these guys are going to end in a form of tragedy. As we see a huge crash there. I knew it would end badly, but I didn't realise we'd have a car flying. My word, I knew that would go badly. Essentially, Jensen's dulled his DNF down to his wheel hub defaulting to not working, but there's a huge moment there. Wiro pitting there, I think the safest option for him to do after that monumentous crash. I heard it happen and I was waiting to see the aftermath, but I was not expecting to see a car fly in the air like that. Absolutely monumentous incident there on that lap of racing, so hopefully these guys won't recreate it. As we see a lockup from Mech, he'll give up the place, maybe have to give up a second if he slowed down too much. But really, after that incident there, that huge accident there, we'll see if anyone from that crash can get back up into a possible fight. Aspect now has basically run off with it. This could be a dominant win for him, as the field sees a huge crash. Anyway, we see it here. Everyone really close now. These guys doing the cleaner half of the fighting that I expected to see from everyone else. So who knows what this race can bring. We're at 24 of 36. We're coming into the closing stint now. We really are. These drivers still closer than ever. So who knows what we could see. Anyway, we do see it here. Mech pushing into the barriers, it would have seemed. I think he's just absolutely misjudged the braking zone there. That's not really a incident you want to be having. That means Zerk is right on the diffuser of Gaggles as FaZe sets another fastest lap of the race. So he may not be the all-out fastest man on of the race, but is the fastest man on track at the moment. So he could be pushing to try and get back ahead of Quinn after being sent airborne. But we do continue on. We do continue into the dying stages of the race. Aspect 8 seconds up the road, 14 seconds up the road now. He's going for vanity. He's building a pit stop gap here. He could choose to pit just to flex as FaZe gets ahead of Quinn, as Quinn has a huge hit into the wall. We do tell the drivers not to take each other off if they've been involved in a crash, as Quinn hits the wall again. So if these two do take each other off, then we might have to have words. These guys having a really all-out fight here. This one fueled by aggression and not fun like the other group. Quinn tries to the inside and they both end up in the same piece of real estate. FaZe spinning. You two need to calm it down or else the FIA will have to get involved in that fight. So sort it out now or have it sorted out after the race with a hefty set of penalties. Because we don't take kindly to taking each other off. Speaking of, Zerk almost took himself and Gaggles off there with a move. And he does get through the hairpin. But Gaggles is going to have the line on the exit. Is he though? Oh, and is Mech going to follow him through? Mech follows Zerk through, so Gaggles loses 2 places in 2 corners. My, oh my, what a move that was. Brilliant racing so far from these guys. I'm sure they're not done. By goodness me, where has this been all race? Gaggles has just dropped back a bit from this fight. Wait, Gaggles choosing the pit lane here, so does he have an issue? What could be his problem? He's come back out here. We watch the brick come through. He makes it back onto the track in P6. Not exactly the place he hopes to be in. But Quinn is just pushing ahead. Now the gaps are really miles apart here, which is a bit unfortunate, but if Gaggles really wanted to say he could be in a chance with leading the championship, it's not by doing this. And in fact, he does have a fight ahead of him, and there's a crash ahead of him now. Those 2 cars being forced into each other due to the drivers not exactly having the best of times with each other. We will ask them to keep it clean, please, before we have to step in and stop this, because we have seen them get a bit too far with each other. They've both missed the chicane there. Gaggles following along behind, taking the lines normally. These two very close now. We just hope they'll keep it clean. So mechanical DNF has caused Jensen, Mr. Boots, DNF, and the other two DNF'd due to crashes and then rage quits. So as we see Quinn dart to the pit lane to keep out of trouble, maybe these are the last pit stops that will carry them till the end. So we'll see Gaggles here overtake FaZe, probably into turn 1. He's got the inside line. They touch. FaZe hitting the wall. These two quite decent mates off the track. And Gaggles rolls. And there's going to be yellows up that straight. Aspect's 20-second gap now down to 7. Whether or not he's had a crash that we've not seen is to be debated. But Gaggles going fully over there. The first crash we've been able to see on the camera itself. The car going fully base over apex there. Rear end in front of the... It was more of a barrel roll after being, I think, tapped into the wall. So, unfortunate flip for him, putting him 15 seconds behind. He has had a pit stop this race, and that flip really isn't what you want to have, especially with the leader of the race being a pit stop ahead of you, especially for a man who thought he could be in a good place. Mech pits. Will he come out? This camera will show us if he's able to come out ahead of Zerk. He's not. Zerks comes out ahead. So Mech is going to come out with a decent gap to Gaggles. It's 20. It's going to adjust itself. FaZe comes into the pit lane. Gaggles 9 seconds behind Mech. If Aspect were to pit, I believe he'd come out ahead of Gaggles, so he could choose to take a pit stop here just to give his car a bit of a boost before the end. FaZe having a really long pit stop there. He's going to be demoted to last. I do believe it's a pit stop. He shouldn't be out unless I am missing something. We sit on board with him. I think he's accidentally taken the max amount of fuel, which if he has spelt disaster, because he's going to be here a long while. He finally gets let free, but he is very back in the grid. So Aspect leads by 20 seconds as we enter 7 to go here. So he could choose to utilize a pit stop for a fresh set of tyres to get back the fastest lap. Fraser being done a lap down. He won't be 2 laps down. He is behind, but he's not lapped. The timing system isn't exactly the best when it comes to telling us where people are. But something that has happened is Zerk has slowed down and Mech has sped up. So who knows what can happen. These two really close now. 35 seconds separates P1 and 2. This could be our biggest win margin in the league so far. Most of these corners having a lot more than the predetermined corner markings. Not progression, mind you. It's all the driver's faults. So I believe FaZe has now been officially lapped, meaning he is now 1 lap behind. Unfortunate for him. It was also good towards the start, and it has dropped off. But I think the real question is, can Gaggles continue his 100% podium streak? Because at the minute, he could be set to take a P4, meaning he'll be the only driver so far this season to finish 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Which is a very unique record indeed. It's not in the right order, because he'll have gone 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 4th. Though I'm pretty sure he does want to finish this weekend off with a podium, which could be a crown in his cabinet. He has gone pretty well around Monaco in the past. Whether he can pull that off again here is another question. 6 to go now. We're almost ahead of the debut Monaco E-Prix. Zerk comes into the pit lane, and that is going to release Gaggles into P3. Has Zerk pulled the plug at the wrong time? Does this mean Aspec thinks he can try pull into the pit lane and come out ahead? He's currently got a 34-second gap, as that's Quinn setting a new fastest lap. And Zerk has been let out right behind him, so we'll just keep on this while this fight continues on. But at the moment, these guys frightfully fighting. I should just say normally fighting to see where they can come out. But Gaggles currently P3, he could be on for his fourth podium in the season, which at this rate he would win Zolder if the pattern were to continue. Third, second, first, third, second, first, and then he'd be third for the final round. So hopefully he can break the curse. Who knows? But here we see Zerk, much fresher tyres, a lot more energy in that in that battery, in that big, powerful battery. Twin motor on the rear, two at the front for push to pass, which a few of the drivers don't know how to activate. That will be all sorted out for the next weekend, I assure you. I think at this track, I think you can just pass on not having push to pass, because it is a bit dangerous. Aspect almost 30 seconds in the lead. If I were him, I'd definitely consider taking a free pit stop. I mean, we've got 5 to go. If I were him, I'd pit now. You're 30 seconds up the road, Aspect. Come on. As we see Zerk into the wall quite heavily, disappearing from the shot. He comes back out, losing quite a few seconds. We're going to see Aspect here. Does he choose to utilize the pit lane? He might not need any more energy, but I sure would go for a new set of tyres about now in the race, especially with that 30-second lead he has. He has a huge snap on the rear. Thought he was going to duck into the pit lane there for a second. Crossing the line to go for 4 to go. He could pull a Schumacher, or he could be staying out due to the pit lane risk of being lapped. But he's so far ahead that if he were to pit, he'd come out before the next cars, even through the next sector. So we see him brushing the wall there. That's not really what you want to do. He should know this. He's a 2-time winner in this series already. Could set a new record. Will set a new record here for 3 wins for the driver here in Monaco. I'm having a moment. Sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. But Aspect is in a great position. This will be a record victory win by amount of time between first and second, which I feel might be unmatched for a while. And by God, this record will be pinned in the notice wall for seasons to come. Three to go as he crosses the line. The gap ever growing, and the gap is shrinking here between Quinn and Zert. So we'll tab to this fight to see where this will head off. We could see another car take our big flight here. Zert to the inside, forces Quinn off, and he's into the barriers. Bit too much speed there, my friend. That's not really what you want to do, especially this late into the race. That was probably your best chance at making a move, as there is a car almost definitely stuck there. He's trying to get it back over. He's fully upside down now. What has happened to him? He's going to be teleported back to the pit lane. That may spell his race over. If he were to finish, he would be classified and would gain the P7 points. So if he chose to, he could retire and be counted as several laps down. He comes back out. He's being lapped by most of the field here, unfortunately. But an unfortunate moment that we've not actually caught the start of, so we'll be unable to see how that has happened. To him, maybe he was trying to make a pass on Asbeck and just clipped him. Man, currently almost 30 seconds up the road now. I'm sure he'll be sending us a clip in due course at the end of the events that will show us what happens. So but we'll see. Asbeck over 30 seconds into the lead now. 2 to go of the inaugural Monaco E-Prix. No idea what this could do to the championship. He briefly gets caught on the curb there, I feel. We see Asbeck continuing to improve his gap. We had a quiet part of the commentary there, so we could hear how fast he's trying to go with this car. So but it does appear that he's going to make it 3 wins out of 4 in the championship. He's on the last lap now. So he has the Lowe's hairpin to go through for the final time. 2 sectors to go. Through the Lowe's hairpin for the final time. Into the Nouvelle chicane. He does have a car ahead of him. He should be getting out of the way. But that's not really what matters. What matters is Asbeck, a record maker so far, is going to come across the line with the biggest win margin the league has ever seen. He spins it across the line, so the gap will dwindle a bit. There's brake issues for FaZe. He'll be counted as finished. Asbeck wins in the Principality, marking the biggest win margin we've ever had. We're going to see how big this gap's going to be. Zerk has overtaken Quinn. We'll tab to that when the gap is confirmed. And the gap officially is 29.9 seconds. One of the biggest, if not the biggest gap we'll see for a while. Quinn still fighting with Zerch. Gaggles takes home P3. Is Quinn going to take home the P4? I feel he is. Has he done enough to solidify a debut finishing place there? Yes, he has. With the fastest lap to boot. He's trying to do donuts. He narrowly misses the wall. But Gaggles stands on the podium with his major championship rival Asbeck to make it 4 podiums for those guys out of 4. The final person to come across the line is Wiro here. Unfortunate, quiet race for him. Makembe making it into P3. So that race does conclude in a very sensible fashion, in a very nice fashion. He decides to do donuts to finish it off. But Aspec wins with the biggest win margin we're going to see in a long, long while, I feel, here. And to boot, for the debut driver, James Quinn gets the fastest lap. We're just going to wait for the drivers to confirm that they're finished with the session. But with that, it marks a very thrilling inaugural Grand Prix. I've been the commentary crew. You've been the viewer. This has been URL Race 4, Season 1 at the Principality of Monaco. We'll see